I don't know that there's going to be too many more people that can fit in here, so I'm going to go ahead and start a little early because I got a lot of stuff to cover, and I want to make sure I get to it all. My name is Jeff Guillet. I am the founder of EXPTA Consulting. I have a blog. Some of you may have seen it, blog.expta.com. I've been in the industry for a very long time, and Exchange is my thing. I love it. So today we are going to talk about adding MFA to your Exchange Online and your Exchange on-premises mailboxes, hopefully in 20 minutes or less. So the number one cost to IT is password management and breaches. It's a trend, it's getting worse, and MFA is your friend. It can help secure your company's assets and make sure that you are safer. So what we're going to be doing is implementing MFA for Exchange Server on-prem using both password hash sync and ADFS. So talking about the requirements, there's basically two versions of MFA. There's Office 365 only, and there's full MFA. They both use the same clients. It requires Outlook 2013 or later with a registry key. Outlook 2016, and hopefully everybody who's using the cloud will be using Office 365 Pro Plus. That will give you the best experience, best reliability. Licensing is something that I'm hoping that everybody else covers in their sessions later on in the week, because last year that was a big deal for me, so I want to make sure that I cover the licensing. If you're Office 365 only, it means you have no AD on-prem. Pure Office 365, you get MFA for admins and users for Office 365 apps only. If you want to do MFA for other apps, you need the full version. The full version requires an AAD Premium, Azure AD Premium license, P1 or P2. P2 adds risk-based MFA, so you can be prompted on MFA when you do things like impossible travel. You just logged in Los Angeles, now you're logging in Boston in 5 minutes. That would be a risky behavior. So the demos, first of all, this is mostly very demo heavy. I got about 15 minutes of demos in a 20-minute session. So there's 3 demos. The first one is configuring hybrid modern auth for Exchange Server on-prem. That's a key for all the other demos. That will light up MFA for customers who are running password hash sync and pass-through authentication. Second demo will be configuring ADFS to use Azure MFA, and the third demo is for enabling ADFS and Azure MFA for Outlook on the web. So let's get started. Now, I recorded these demos because my typing's bad, and this whole session would hit the ground at Mach 3. So we're doing recordings here. I also shortened up some of the time sequences. A 2-minute IIS reset takes 3 seconds here, so we don't have to watch that. Okay, so getting started, our environment includes a mix of Exchange servers. I've got 2013, 2016, and 2019 in this environment. I have AAD Connect with password hash sync already configured, and users are not enabled for MFA yet. Since I got a little bit of time, I want to point out, if you're running ADFS on-prem, you should also be running password hash sync. Because if your ADFS servers become unavailable, your users can't log in. If your users can't log in, it's bad. So if you're using password hash sync, you can easily log in as a global admin tenant, flip it to password hash sync so people can still work, and fix your ADFS problem, flip it back. But trying to do that after your infrastructure is down is that's no good. So, is it going? There we go. Okay. So what we're looking at right now is Windows 10 machine with Outlook. And I'm turning on connection status, and we're looking at the authentication method. We're using negotiation right now. That's the standard way that on-prem Outlook connects to Exchange Server on-prem. We've sent an email out to users asking them to pre-enroll for for MFA. So when they click the link, they're going to sign in with their AD credentials, username and password, and this will start the enrollment process. So the enrollment process starts with more information is required. They click next, and this will log them into Azure AD. Here, the default method is Authenticator app, but for this demo, we're going to set them up with phone factor, which is texting. So when they start that setup, they put in their country code and their phone number, and then choose whether they wanted to call them or text them. I'm going to do call. Click next. They'll get a text on their phone. They enter that verification code, and they're done. That's it for signing up for MFA, enrolling. Now, if they want to, they can click Add Security Info, which will show right there, and that will take them to other MFA methods that they can sign in with like the Authenticator app or an alternate phone. So we're all done here, and we're still on Negotiate. Nothing has changed. Now we're going to go to Exchange to set up hybrid modern auth. So we start that by getting all the virtual directories, the URLs that are used for virtual directories for Outlook. And when we've got those, we're looking for the unique ones. So we're using Outlook for internal and Mail for external. Now we sign into Microsoft Online, and we're going to check our tenant to see that the SPNs exist for those URLs. So once we get signed in, this is doing modern auth for my global accounts, the global admin accounts. You always should be doing that. If you're not, you're literally insane. So we run a command to get the UPNs, and we see that outlook.theguias.com is missing from this list. So we're going to go ahead and add it. At the bottom of the screen, what we're doing is we're storing the UPNs into a variable. We're adding the HTTPS outlook.theguias.com to that list, and now we're setting it, and now we'll do a confirmation to ensure that the URLs that we need are in there. So now we see outlook.theguias.com and we see mail.theguias.com. And next, we're going to check to see if the Evo STS authentication provider exists. That's created by the hybrid configuration wizard. If it's not there, download the latest version and run it. It will create it. Next step is to check all the virtual directory authentication methods, and they should all have OAuth. Normally, they all will. The one problem one is MAPI. There's a bug in EAC that if you do certain things, it may remove OAuth. So the command at the bottom right here that I'm going to skip does not normally would take a few minutes to run. That will set OAuth for the MAPI virtual directory. Next, we're checking to see the two properties in the tenant that tell whether MFA is enabled. Right now, it defaults to false, and it is set to false. We're going to go ahead and set those to true. And then we do an IIS reset. Now, while the reset is running, I'm going to go to the AAD portal, and I'm going to enable Ken Meyer for MFA. If you are on-prem, Office 365 only, not doing hybrid, this is all you're going to do. You're going to go into the AAD portal, going to find the user, enable them for MFA, you're done. So once they're enabled, and we wait for the IIS reset to finish, which will just take a moment, then we're going to go over to the Win 10 machine, and we're going to take a look at it again. So the IIS reset is finished. Go back to Win 10, and we see we're still using Negotiate because we haven't closed Outlook yet. The next time, all we do is close Outlook, start it back up. Now you'll get an ADAL prompt instead of the normal Outlook prompt for credentials. It knows who you are. You just put your password in. And we're going to move this up and over to the side, and you'll see that the authentication method is error because we haven't made a connection yet. We haven't completed it. We got factored for MFA. We put that in. Click Next. And then Outlook will now register itself with Azure AD. It does this so that you don't get an MFA prompt every time you open Outlook. Okay? The token is good for 90 days. And we'll see that it is a bearer token that we're using for authentication now. That's it for HMA. If you're using password hash sync, you're done. Okay? So our next demo is configuring ADFS to use Azure MFA. So it's the same environment. We already have a hybrid modern auth enabled. We have AAD Connect set up to use with ADFS. And in this case, the users have been enabled already for MFA, that last step that we did in the GUI, but they haven't enrolled yet. So what this is going to do is an inline registration for MFA. Instead of pre-enrolling, they're going to enroll the first time they get prompted for it. So, same setup. We're in Outlook. We're using negotiation. Nothing has changed yet, okay? We're going to move over to the ADFS server. In the ADFS management console, expand out service, and we go to the authentication method, and you'll see down at the bottom is multi-factor authentication methods. You just click Edit and hit the checkbox for Azure MFA. Click OK. And you can see now that we're using Azure MFA. The rest of it's all done in PowerShell. We open up PowerShell and we get a new certificate for our tenant from MFA. If you open it up, once you run that, go to certificates on the local store, you'll see a certificate that has the tenant name on it. Okay? Once we're done there, we connect to MSOL. Again, we're going to log in with the global admin account. Username and password. We're going to be prompted for MFA again. Again, don't be insane. Always lock your global accounts for MFA. Always. Quickest way to get owned. Once you get those set up, we connect, and we're going to get we're going to create a service principal using the certificate that we just created to log into MFA. Then we configure the tenant for MFA and restart the ADFS service. And that's all done. We go back to Outlook. Again, we're still on negotiation. Close Outlook, launch it again, and now we're going to get an ADFS prompt instead of an ADAL prompt. It is still an ADAL prompt, it's just getting it from ADFS. And you'll see the ADFS prompt, put in the username and password. Now, because I haven't enrolled for MFA yet, it's now guiding me through the enrollment process. In this case, we're going to do texting again, set up the country code and phone number. Now, even though I'm using texting because it makes a better demo, the recommendation is to use the Authenticator app. The issue with that a little bit is that if you don't have the Authenticator app, it's a little clumsy. So I would recommend that you tell your customers, your users, to download and install the Authenticator app already on their phone, and they'll be ready for it. Okay? So again, once it's done, it does the registers Outlook with Azure AD. And as soon as I click done, you'll see error change to bearer. And we're logged in through ADFS. Okay. So next demo. This is PowerShell craziness because we're bouncing all over the place. It is configuring ADFS and Azure MFA for OWA. We've already got ADFS configured. We have our modern auth enabled. And users are already enabled and enrolled for this, for MFA on this one. Those of you who have ADFS, everybody who has ADFS, put your hand up. Okay, a lot of people. Everybody who, keep them up, sorry. Everybody who is using a WAP server, put your hand down. Okay, all right. There's a WAP series in here that you are not going to have to do, but most of the users do have a WAP Windows application proxy server, so you'll have to do some special steps there. So, going into our demo, now we're using OWA, so we open up Edge, go to Outlook on the web. This is the standard FBA setup everybody's used to. Forms-based access control, once you get in, you're authed, everything's good. We're going to change that around so we get some MFA goodness. So first step that we're going to do is go over to the ADFS server. Again, we're going to go to PowerShell, and we're going to export the token signing certificate. Actually, we're going to get the token signing certificate, sorry, and then we're going to export it. There is no command to directly export it. And after that, this is why I recorded it. You guys would be here all day if I had to type all this in. I'm creating relying party trust for OWA and ECP so that the Exchange admin console is covered. Once we create the relaying party trust, then we have to configure them, both OWA and ECP. And then the last step that we're going to do is we're going to set the background screen, the illustration, will be the last two commands that I use for the ADFS prompt when we get logged in. Those are those last two for both OWA and ECP. After we're done here, we go into the ADFS management console, and we need to do some configuration here. Again, we don't have to change anything here. We're already set for Azure MFA as our secondary source. But we go to the relying party trust, and we have to configure OWA and ECP. So you right-click and go to Access Control Policy. And then the link down at the bottom, User Access Policy, brings up this nicer new ADFS policies. And we're going to choose Permit Everyone but Require ADFS. And we're going to repeat for the ECP relying party trust, or the Exchange admin console. Okay, once we're done there, go over to the WAP server. Here we need to create two web application proxy applications. First, we get the certificate that's used by the WAP server, and we use that to create the web application proxies applications on the server. One for OWA and one for ECP. And now we have to go over and configure Exchange for this. So the first thing we're going to do is import the token signing cert from the ADFS server that we exported in the first step, and we're going to import it on all the Exchange servers. After that, we're going to configure the Exchange organization to use ADFS, and then we need to configure all the ECP virtual directory on all the Exchange servers to use ADFS only for authentication. We're going to turn everything else to false. We're going to turn ADFS auth on. And this command can take a while, depending on your infrastructure, how many CAS servers you have, or how many Exchange servers you have. It has to go through and do each one. You have to do the ECP directory before you do the OWA directory. If you try to do OWA first, it'll give you an error. It warns you that you need to reset IIS to make this change effective, but we're going to make a bunch of changes that require the same IIS reset, so we're going to do it all at one time. So we're done with ECP, working on OWA, and now we're doing the IIS reset. There we go. Nothing but net. Now we're into Windows 10. We're going to run Outlook on the web again. We see the ADFS prompt. This time the user's enrolled with the Authenticator app, so we're going to see a little bit different auth. And all I do is tap approve on my phone, and it lets me into Outlook. Okay? That is it for the demos. And all I've got left for you are references and further reading. These 3 articles have everything that I just did in it. Okay, ADFS licensing is covered here. Announcing hybrid modern auth, was demo 1, and demos 2 and 3 are in the third link for configuring ADFS and Azure MFA. And I hope you got a lot out of this. I appreciate you being patient with me, and thank you very much. Please evaluate the session. Let me know how I did, how I can improve. Thank you very much.